Hello and welcome. This another edition of On the Ironing Board. I found this amp upstairs, actually a radio, not an amp. I actually found this upstairs. I bought this 3 or 4 years ago now with the intention of converting it into a guitar amplifier, and it's just sat upstairs. So what I thought we'd do in this video is take a look at it and run some ideas past about what we could build into this. So this is a battery powered radio, battery and mains powered radio. It's just medium wave and long wave. What attracted me to this was the cool case that it's in. You see there, and I just thought that's just going to make a really cool looking guitar amp. But on looking inside it, let's just spin it round. Oops, that's just from flying open. You can see we've got a couple of aluminium chassis there going on. And this part, this bottom part here, is the power supply. Just get something as a pointer this pen will do. This is the power supply section. You see we've got this on the tatty old mains cable there. That's obviously the battery connector there. And I don't know what batteries it would have taken in those days. This is from the 1950s. You probably can't see, but in the bottom there's been a paper stuck on which has got peeled off. I should imagine sliding the batteries in and out. I don't even know what voltage batteries to put on it. There is a schematic for this, but obviously converting this into a guitar amp presents one or two hurdles with this present layout. The first thing is, if we look at the rectifier tube, it's an EZ41. So that instantly tells us 6.3 on the power supply. That's a very old tube. You can see it's got the pip there to guide the pins in on that one. You see there. And you can plug those in any way round, and if you don't get the pin aligned, then the pins, you plug it in and it usually goes bang, depending on how lucky you are with the pin selection you choose. Now the other tubes that are in here, and I'm just going to pull out one of them, are these what I call D tubes. If we just have a look at that one. Now these tubes are designed to run, really were designed to run on batteries. They're very low current, low voltage tubes, and I think the heater supply on those is something like 1.4 volts. The pentode for the output stage in this is a DL94, I do believe, but they all look a bit grubby, so I can't quite see which one it is. They're not going to be much use for a guitar amp, but the chassis and the case will be good, useful. The transformer looks very small indeed, so we've no idea what milliamps we can draw out of that. So we'd probably be looking for another transformer for this as well. This doesn't work, by the way, as a radio. I did test it at the time, put it on the Variac, and it didn't work. We've got this Bakelite, I don't know whether that's original or not, to flick it from battery to mains. Bit of a Bakelite switch there, Bakelite knob rather. So yeah, made of plywood, back's hardboard, but other than that, but I just thought that looked really cool. I think the speaker, which we can just see protruding underneath there, you can see, I think is 6 inches, but we may be able to put a bigger speaker in. Yeah, power cable, not great. So if we spin it round again and have a look. So my idea with this is to have keep these as the controls, and I don't really know what's under here as regards pots or what, you know, whether they're on long shafts, short shafts, whatever, but that was a general idea. So it would look like a radio, but to be a cool guitar amp. The on-off switch there, and then that's just the volume. There's just a volume, sorry, that's the tuner. So it's just, yeah, volume's on the on-off switch. Just there's your tuner, and then you've just got medium wave and long wave on it. So it's a really cool colour as well. and I think that just looks proper retro. So case is not clean, but then it's not tatty either, it just looks vintage. So swinging it back round again, we can have a back look in the back. What we really need to do is remove this chassis and see what we've got underneath it. So I'm going to get a screwdriver and we're going to open that up. So let's delve in. Which shall we open first? I think I'm going to open this top part first because I'm more interested in what's under here. So we'll get these out. So what I've got to really think of is what's going to go in here, what we're going to use, what schematic we're going to use. We could use the old faithful Fender Champ, build it into a little Champ. There's quite a lot of other amps we could build into this. Some silver tones, for example, probably some Dan Electros. We can find some schematics for those. Build one of those into it. It's only ever going to be a single-ended amp, really. It's cabinet's not really big enough for push-pull, and probably too much volume wouldn't be ideal in this cabinet. Right, so I've just took the whole chassis out there. It was just easier. It does come apart into two parts, and this is useful. So we can see from looking at this part of the chassis here, it's going to be quite easy to get some pots on, and through that faceplate, which is plastic, I believe. It may be glass, it feels like plastic. So the best way to approach this is to just remove everything out of here and start again. The transformer probably won't be powerful enough to run any kind of guitar amplifier. The main thing is, what we've got here is chassis and a good case to build this into. So this should be a cool project. Now if we look in here, I'll just try and move that over there. You can see we've got, and if I just hover over there with the camera, there, you can see we've got that Celestion in there, a little 6-inch Celestion speaker. Don't know if that'll be any good or not. It might not be powerful enough. I think that's 6-inch anyway. Don't know whether we'd get an 8-inch speaker in this. Slightly strange that. It looks like they've moved that. If I can lift that up, you can see it's slightly moved downwards there. So part of that is not actually working over the grill. But yes, but I'm sure we can do something with that. It's probably been moved that way to allow this chassis, what's underneath this chassis, to fit in there. So I think that speaker's 6-inch. I'm not sure now looking at it. I think it probably is. That's an 8-inch. Let's just pop that in there. That's an 8-inch one from a Fender Champ. Actually, from one of those, that Fender Champ we did the hand wired one. This was the original speaker, and you remember that Weber went in there. So I'm not sure if that is 6 or 8-inch now. But anyway, we can find, if it's not a good speaker, we can find a replacement for that, no problem. So I've got a couple of transformers that will go in this. In fact, I've got a few things that would go in this. And you see they've mounted the transformer on the, that's the output transformer. They've mounted it on that bit of hardboard. And we could probably find room for that up on the chassis once we've removed a lot of this. Actually, let's bring that back into shot. So we could probably mount that transformer once we've removed some of this gubbins on the chassis here. We could probably mount them on the outside. We don't really have to mount them on the inside, such as that, same as that one. So there'll be plenty of room for those once we've removed this. So I've got a few output transformers, power transformers that we can use. I've got a pair that have come out of a reel-to-reel that come with an EL95 tube, which would be ideal. Make us a little single-ended amp. So all of this can be thrown away. Although I might be tempted to keep that 1500 ohm resistor there, because that looks quite tasty as long as it's in tolerance. But I think just about everything else on there is needs to go. Now the other thing on here is that, and I'm safe handling this because it's not been plugged in for about 3 years, so don't worry about me touching any of the terminals. I don't want to get electric shock from the capacitor. That'll be long drained. So we're looking at this capacitor now. We're trying to see if we can get a date off it. I can't quite see. 54, I think that says. November 54. You can't see that because I'm trying to do that off camera. And so if we just, and I don't think you'll be able to see it because that RF can's in the way. But you might just see it. But on the cap there, November 1954. So this radio was probably made in 1955, somewhere late 54, 55. So quite an old thing, really. The tubes that are going to be useful, we can save. Well, we can save that this EZ41. I seem to think I tested these valves, if I remember, and they all tested okay. So we can save all the tubes, really. Whether or not the D ones will be any use, I suppose. There's DL94, that's the output tube. I've got another one of these somewhere. So if you're watching this video and any of these tubes are any use to you, and you're in the UK, drop me an email. Use the in the about section, you'll find my email. Drop me the email and you can gladly have these tubes. I shall give them away free to anyone that needs them. If you've got one of these radios that's missing some tubes, I'll test them before I send them just to make sure again, but I think they're pretty good. So we'll just drop back with a camera so we can get that in shot. So ideas, what do you think we could put in this schematic wise? Fender Champ, but we've done plenty of those, and so has every man and his pit bull. So let's just think what we could build into this. So if you lot's got any ideas what you think I could put into this, and we could make a really cool guitar amp out of it, leave these ideas in the comments, and that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see what people come up with. See if we can probably do something a bit special. I mean, I could design something on the fly out of my head and put it in, but we'll be playing, you know, I don't usually get those right first time, so we end up playing around with them for a bit. But if we get a schematic of a decent amp, I mean, there's some British schematics that we could use, some of the early Vox ones maybe, Selmer, but then there's some nice American designs as well, like I say, the Silvertones. That last Silvertone we did actually wasn't a million miles from a Fender Champ anyway. They were just odd things like no coupling capacitor on the first stage, stuff like that. But generally, I mean, most of these single-ended amps, I would imagine they're going to be relatively similar in design. So any ideas that you think you might have, please leave them in the comments, and we'll see if we can build a really cool guitar amp out of this, and I'm sure we can. I'm just basically at the minute I'm just finding odd things that I've got, just doing small videos, because I have most of you don't know, but I've spent quite a bit of time looking after my good lady who's been quite ill for the last year or so. So I've not always had the time to drop onto big projects. So I'm just generally going through a few things and ideas that I'll be doing in the future. So I think that'll about do for that one. So that's the Bush BAC31 battery and mains radio, which we are going to convert into a guitar amplifier. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you wish to do so. And you all take care, and I'll see you in a future video. Bye bye for now.